I want to bring in our political editor, Andrew Clennell. Andrew, what do you make of that number, as Ed said there? It's below market expectations and possibly could be a spanner in the works when it comes to rates.
Oh, a bad result, which could end up being a good result, is what Ed's saying there, isn't he, Kieran? If essentially, Australians all want to see inflation go down and rates to be cut. And the only way that was going to happen was a result like this. I'm cautious on it, though, because we had some figures the other day out on household spending for this quarter, which showed a market increase. So, Black Friday, the lead up to Christmas, the stage 3 tax cuts and the other various cost of living relief coming through has, since this figure, increased spending in the economy. Nevertheless, if you are looking for a rate cut, this is the result that you wanted. 0.8, I mean, that's anemic. I mean, the last four quarters make a year. 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.3. The only way you could stay at a recession there is the government spending. That's occurred. I think economists will be saying that. And it's the 7th consecutive per capita decline in GDP, which is why the opposition gets to say it's a per capita recession and the government quibbles on that definition. But Jim Chalmers will be talking about the soft landing. He'll be talking about the fact that we've got inflation in the 2s. Many say that's because of the electricity bill relief artificially doing that and other cost of living relief. But he'll be saying, look, the economy's not that great at the moment, but this is what we need to bring inflation down. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a valid argument.
Yeah, and Andrew, obviously the central bank is independent, and Michelle Bullock, there's no doubt, no one questioning the independence. The economic decisions, Andrew, have massive political ramifications, though. There's no arguing that either, is there, over coming months?
I think that's absolutely the case. I mean, a February rate cut changes everything, or it could be an April rate cut. What the government doesn't want is no rate cut before the election, but some have started to get resigned from Michelle Bullock's language that is the case. The other political point here that the opposition will be wanting to press home is this government and the state Labor governments turning this from an economy which the private sector drives more towards a government-led economy, bigger government. And, the ABS itself is saying that any increase in growth that there has been is as a result of government spending. Here in New South Wales, we've seen really big wage increases for public servants out of the Labor government. We've seen the departing Queensland Labor government give a series, measure after measure of cost of living relief to try and buy themselves election. It didn't work. And there's concerns in the growth in the NDIS and federal public service as well. So is this growth only because of basically government stimulus? Looks that way. So, I mean, really, you need a bit of a tightening of that government spending as well. And then you can see rates come down. I don't think we're too far away from that looking at these figures. Next quarter, though, we are expecting a bit of a bump after those stage 3 tax cuts are fed through. That's the irony of it.
Ed, I guess the view within the government, and they'll be arguing maybe a bit more subtly than I'd put it, but it does seem to torpedo the suggestion that the economy was running too hot that came out of the RBA. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, plus the stock market. How's it reacted? I know we hit a record high yesterday. What's been the reaction today?
Well, Kieran, one thing the Reserve Bank looks at very closely is productivity growth. It's been a topic Michelle Bullock's covered extensively this year, how it's been very poor in Australia. And looking at the figures today, GDP per hours worked is the one to look at, and it was negative again in the quarter after a couple of positive quarters earlier this year. So productivity growth is going to be an issue that I expect Governor Bullock to speak about next week, and it'll be a challenge for Jim Chalmers as well and the federal government. But let's have a quick look at the stock market, because it was down about 0.5% before the numbers came out. It's gone up a little bit after the 11:30 decision here from the ABS. Look at the next page. We'll look at the Aussie dollar. we can see the Australian dollar has come down further and it's now 64.7 US cents. It was about 70 US cents a few months ago, and it's really been on a big slide, the Australian currency, over the past few months, particularly with Trump putting in the potential for new tariffs, has devalued our dollar, and that's another challenge that the government needs to deal with as well. But look, these figures are a bit of a surprise. We'll wait and see whether economists start changing their forecasts for the cash rate, but we might see some shifts in economic forecasts over the next 24 hours or 48 hours or so, Kieran.
Yes, indeed. Ed, I'll let you go. Andrew, I do want to ask you now about where this fits into the broader discussion about the economy, about the political equation. Peter Dutton today making an incursion into a couple of teal seats on the northern beaches of Sydney.
Yes, I mean, he's showing that he wants to take on those seats as well. That will be a difficult task. I mean, I think it's a difficult task, despite James Brown's qualifications, for a man to take on Sophie Scompson McKellar. I think those are harder seats to win than perhaps some of the Labor seats. So I think where we sit at the moment, Kieran, it's quite easy to see Peter Dutton win around 8 seats nationwide and have Labor perhaps on around 70 seats. It's possible to see him win 10 seats, to have Labor on 68 and the Coalition on 66, say. There might be one or two Green or Independent that changes hands that improves that situation. But it's difficult to see Peter Dutton getting to what I think he needs to form government comfortably. And that's not the 76 majority, it's a 73 situation. And look, the economy's looking sick from these figures, but where it's not looking sick is in terms of unemployment, and inflation has come down. So despite all the economic pain that people have felt, and it's not good that renters are paying more in terms of, because a lot of them are Labor voters for the government's position is not as bad as it could be. They are marginally behind. And there have been some people in government who have taken comfort with that and said to me, we can win because look at all that's been thrown with us. Look at all economically that's happened, and we're not further behind.